Hey everyone, and welcome to this episode of Revenge's Ice Cream. And back at it with the video again, so let's see how it goes. First up, it's On the House by Quirky Fox 9203. This one was taken from the Malicious Compliance subreddit. When I was 18, my first job was at a new ice cream place that's known for making and mixing their own ice cream in shop. Very popular at the time. Not sure if they still are, I haven't had it since this incident 11 years ago. My manager was only 2 years older than me, and everyone that worked in the store was relatively young, so you can imagine the politics and the way things were ran. Lots of favoritism and whatnot. I informed my manager 4 weeks in advance the dates I needed off, as I was going on a trip for my birthday. Put in the request, and it got approved. Everything went as planned. Enjoyed my couple days on vacation, and my first day back, there was a weird feeling in the air like something was gonna happen. Little did I know, it was to me. We had a staff meeting the day I got back, which seemed to be centered around this new rule that even if we got time off and it was approved, we were responsible for making sure our shifts were covered. Hell no. At this point, I know they weren't talking about me because I gave him 4 weeks' notice, and I couldn't be here for those 3 days. The meeting ends, and me and one other person were scheduled to open. I noticed that a new person and my manager stayed behind, as everyone else left, but figured he was training. My shift was going well until about around the time I needed to go to lunch. A family of 6 people piled into the store, and I began taking their order. Out of the corner of my eye, I see my manager in the doorway of the connecting room, giving me the "come here" finger. I apologize to the customers and tell them, give me a sec, I gotta grab an ice cream flavor that isn't out from the back. I get back there and say, what's up, I got a big family I gotta finish, then need to clock out for lunch, which he saw. What the hell could be that important that they had to interrupt? Well, it was him firing me for not having those 3 days covered. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Basically, he said I was being let go because even though I had gotten approved for the time off, I needed my shifts covered. I didn't understand why I was even on the schedule to begin with if he had sent in the time off and told him 4 weeks in advance to avoid this situation in the first place. I knew he had messed up, and probably forgot, as I had seen him do in the past. He told me to finish up with the Oh yeah, go do some more work, but you're fired. He told me to finish up with the family, and then I could leave. I was beyond ticked, but put on my fake smile and went back to finish helping out the family. Oh, well, I guess it was a nice thing to do for the family. Collected my tips from the overly happily family, and have not been back in since. In hindsight, I should have probably made a bigger deal, cause he is the one that messed up, but the look on his face when I gave away all that free ice cream and told them to thank him for it was priceless. Plus that job sucked. Okay, next up is Yes Sir, You're the Lawyer, Sir, by TwinMom2298. This happened many years ago, but I was just reminded of it last night by a former coworker. I got my degree in business with a paralegal minor. Worked as a paralegal for a few years before moving to a new city. Upon arriving in the new city, I found that legal secretaries got paid overtime while paralegals didn't, and with very similar base salaries. And similar work hours at the end of the day, the legal secretaries made more money. So I took a job as a legal secretary. I worked directly for 2 attorneys. One had a couple years' experience, knew I had education and experience to be a paralegal and utilized me as such. The other was fresh out of law school with a newly passed bar exam. He had a massive "I'm the lawyer" chip on his shoulder. One day, the named partner, who was notorious for flying off the handle at mistakes, assigns the second, newer lawyer to prepare some legal documents. Instead of saying, "Hey, named partner needs documents on this file to handle the issue." And having me do them, he takes the time to actually dictate the documents. As I'm working on them, I realize he's made a logistical mistake. He drafted the document in a way that would result in it not being legally enforceable. I go to his office and explain, "Hey, I was working on this, and I noticed X, and that's not how that works. You need to have it do Y, or it won't be enforceable." He says, "I know what I'm doing, and that's the way it needs to be done, so just do it as I dictated it." Yes, of course, absolutely. I went, did it his way, reminded him when I handed it to him that we'd had a prior conversation and that I had completed the document exactly as he'd wanted it. He happily nods, and off he goes to the named partner to give him the finished work. Less than 30 minutes later, named partner is in their office doorway throwing a hissy fit that the document was prepared that way. "You can't do that. You've literally made this document worthless." Blah, blah, blah. I sat out in my cube and hid behind a piece of paper while named partner told them to prepare the document exactly how I told them it needed to be prepared. I wish I could say that going forward, they listened to me when I raised concerns, but he only lasted a year and in that time never lost the "I'm the lawyer you're not" attitude. Meanwhile, years after I left that job, joined corporate world, and moved up in my career, I was still close with the named partner, who actually referred my company business, and I attended his funeral when he passed a few years ago. Okay, next up is No Ice Cream for Karen. I guess Revenge's Ice Cream has an ice cream theme today. This one is by No Deer 4983. So, I'm working at this summer camp, and it's ice cream day. You ever scoop 1,500 scoops of ice cream without stopping? It's exhausting, and I'm ready to be done with my day when the last person comes to get ice cream. Let's call her Karen. "Does this ice cream have peanuts? I'm very allergic and can't have peanuts near me," she says. Okay, sure, peanut allergies can be serious, so I understand her caution. Only thing is, "It's vanilla ice cream," I state, already feeling the headache. "Well, there might be peanuts in it," she responds, not backing down. I don't know how to take that because it's ridiculous. So I go back in the kitchen to ask the head chef, "Hey chef, is there peanuts in the vanilla ice cream?" "No, it's vanilla ice cream. There's no peanuts out as toppings," the chef says. I return and tell Karen what chef told me. That apparently is not good enough for her. "Well, I need you to go check the box and see if there's peanuts in the ingredients." Oh, okay, I thought she might have been concerned it was made in a factory where peanuts were also used, but no, she thinks there might just be peanuts in it. I just stare at her dumbfounded. And how exactly am I supposed to do that? I responded, perhaps a little snarky, and I was getting tired of her nonsense. She gets angry and goes off about how I'm treating her poorly and she should be given ice cream like everyone else, and she's going to complain to management about my poor service. I just smile and shrug. It's a crappy summer job. I get paid barely anything, and no one else wants to do it. Complain all you want. She storms off. The thing is, though, there was totally a bucket of strawberry sherbet made in-house for kids who are lactose intolerant, and that was guaranteed to not have peanuts. But like hell I was going to give it to her. Sure, I could have probably avoided the headache by bringing that up to begin with, but some people just don't deserve ice cream. Up next is Group Project Revenge by MinimumLet 4417. Background. Some of these stories reminded me of a group project back in high school. I always loved my English classes as I was an avid reader, enjoyed creative writing, and it was always my easy A, except for my senior year, when I had the teacher that fit the trope of that teacher always flirting with the athletes in her class, asking them about their games and personal lives during class, letting them distract her from assignments, but getting annoyed seeing other students on their phones letting them turn in their work late for no reason, and somehow annoyed by the students actually interested in learning. Yeah, I think Ho is what we call her. I'm pretty sure. I'd have to look it up, but she sounds like a Ho. It had gotten to the point me and some of the others dreaded going to this class because of all the distractions and weird flirting. She sounds like one of those people who peaked in high school, and so now she's doing this job. She's miserable at it, and so she's trying to recapture her glory days. I hope she wasn't so obsessed with it that she would have actually slept with some of the students, because my heavens, we know that happens. Anyway, even as seniors, when you'd expect people to slack off some, a lot of us were wanting to prepare for college courses next year, so still took it somewhat seriously. The student athletes were honestly nice guys, but knew they could get away with murder, so milked it. The project. It was one of the first years in the 2010s that students started getting personal laptops, and we had to do a group PowerPoint presentation on a poem assigned by the teacher. Stupidly easy rubric to follow, where everyone basically had to present one slide, and we would be graded as a group for the overall presentation, with a requirement to answer 3 questions from the class afterwards. Basically an easy A. Groups were assigned, and as I was the girl with the highest grade in the class, of course got put with the 3 male athletes. Fortunately, we got a really good poem, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. Because it's in a cage. But planning went as expected for anyone who has been in this situation. I created and shared the PowerPoint, assigned the topics, and order we would go in, while they all just talked to each other and ignored the work. I knew she put me with them to guarantee a good grade for everyone, so to spite her, I decided to take a limited approach. I created the intro and my slide, and did not touch anyone else's, leaving them completely blank. When she would tease, "Are you letting her do all the work?" I laughed along with them. I even reminded my group the day before we presented to go in and add anything, knowing if they at least looked at it, they would know they would be presenting a blank slide. I knew I was risking my own grade, but had been accepted to college already, and my GPA was fine, and if everything went as I think it will be worth it. The fall, day of the presentations, the best thing happened. She has an observer from the admin office. We usually see them in class only one day a year. I could not have dreamed for a better situation. I volunteer our group to go first, see the excitement in our teacher's eyes, and the panic in the guys in my group. I presented the intro on the author's history. It is going really well. Class seems to be engaged in what I'm saying. The observer is smiling. Then I change the slide that is supposed to introduce the poem. It is blank. I stand completely to the side, saying nothing, while the rest of the mood in the room shifts. The 3 guys fumble over their words, having nothing to say, looking at each other in panic as they switch the slides, and each one is blank. They can't explain the themes, significance, can't even say what they liked about the poem. One does a good job rephrasing some things I said. That was it. The observer has their brows furrowed as they write notes. Our teacher is white as a ghost. Victory! At the end is when class is required to ask 3 questions, and I answer all after giving my group a chance to respond. Our group has failed. Even with my efforts, we are not getting anything above a D. Well, your teacher apparently liked the D. At the end of the presentation, our teacher tries pulling. "I don't know if I gave you guys enough time to work on this project. We can push it back another day." And the second best thing happens. All of the other groups eagerly say, "We're ready, we can go." Everyone has figured I tanked on purpose, and if you have done group presentations in class before, you know yours looks a lot better going after someone who has just failed. After one more group goes, doing a great collaborative effort, the observer says something quietly to our teacher and leaves. The rest of my group sits with their heads down, embarrassed, as the rest of the class presents. They know they messed up. One even apologized to me. At the end of class, she asks us to stay behind. I get told I will get an A, and the rest will be given a new assignment to make up the grade. Aftermath. The rest of the year, she really cracked down on her teaching and stopped flirting with the students, even when they tried messing around with her. She had observers about 3 or 4 more times that year, and the next school year she got downgraded from all upperclassmen courses to only teaching freshmen and remedial English. Found out later on, the observer reported back, she was required to submit lesson plans for review and they were abysmal. And some of the other observations did not go well either. Nothing was a fireable offense, but since our school was considered competitive to work in, they decided to reward newer teachers with the more desired grade levels. This was not my first time being assigned to a group to help the grade or make sure others behaved, but was my first time acting out on it, was 100% worth it, and served as a reminder in college and even early in my career to not let others take credit for your work, and if they do, letting them fail looks worse on them than it does on you. Okay, last up is look for other jobs and see how much they offer. Sure thing, boss. By Dr. Pillow. I spent a few years at this company. The pay is not as competitive, and we all got a measly 2 to 3% raises each year, nothing close to inflation levels. I had been in a starter position and still studying on the side, so I agreed with my boss already a couple years ago that I'd get a promotion once I graduated. Well, last September I graduated and asked for my promotion. I had looked over the worker union salary statistics and the median would be around 18% bump for me. I didn't expect to get that much because besides them being cheap AF, the company was bad and they had just downsized like 15% of the staff in January. Luckily, I had gotten myself in a strong position of being one of the only ones left with some unique skills. So I survived the downsizing. Anyhow, I show my boss a copy of the statistics and ask for the median. Boss scoffs and proceeds to fight as hard as he can to justify lowballing me. He says several things baffling to me, not limited to, "Damn, you're rich, bro," about my salary. No, dude. I'm really struggling in this economy. "If I give you more, you just spend more." Not your concern what I do with my well-deserved money. "Knowing at that level makes that much here." And that the statistics must be wrong, I later went around the office to find colleagues in that level. First coworker I ask earns exactly what I asked for. Brought up some concerns about my communication. Petty things like me not replying to a colleague's email for like 3 days. 3 days during which I was off-site to give a course somewhere. But my favorite thing he said was, "You can go look for other jobs to see how much others are offering. You see it's not going to be any better." He lingered on my salary adjustment until December, negotiating with HR, and then finally offers me 11%, which is around what I actually expected. But there's a catch. Next year I would not get the usual 2 to 3% salary adjustment like everybody else. WTF? I told him, deal. You see, I had taken his advice, or rather called his bluff, and was already getting quite far in interviews. Come January, I land an offer from the top company in our field, think Google or Apple, offering me what would have been a 35% bump. I hit my boss with the news. He promptly panics. Says they want me to stay. Yeah, I'll bet they did. They need me. My performance and development have been great, etc. But they can't match that offer because not even the top management makes that much. I obviously didn't believe him. But I said, I understand it's not fair that I earn more than everyone else. Just do your best. He runs to the top boss's office and somehow within 30 minutes they magically found a 30% raise. Perfect. Now I had leverage to negotiate an even better offer for my future boss. After all, I had already made up my mind to leave long ago. And that brings us to the end of this video. Big thanks to everyone who shared their stories with us today. And if you've enjoyed the video and would like to support the channel, I have a Patreon page. There's a link to that in the description of the video. And you'll also find a link there to the merchandise store on Teespring. If you do want to support me on Patreon, that gets you early access to the videos on Monday all at once. Let me think, is there any other bits and bobs? I think that's all the businessy stuff. So let's move on to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is, are you looking forward to seeing any films in the upcoming months? This month, the new Superman film's coming out. I'm kind of looking forward to that. I'm hoping it's good because it looks like the sort of thing I would enjoy. It's been a while since we had a Superman film that I've felt was kind of fun, to be honest with you, but we don't need to get into the ins and outs of that. So that's the one I'm looking forward to. And I have actually found, since I started working out more on the regular, that I'm watching a lot more films, because I do an hour on the treadmill every day, unless it's a day when I've been out on my bike being physically active for a few hours. But I do an hour every day on the treadmill, and I'll put a film on, or a TV show, but I get through a couple of episodes, so putting a film on means I don't have to get off partway through to change it. And I've got through a lot of really good films. Let's see, what have I seen? Late Night with the Devil with David Dismalchin. That's a really good movie. If you haven't seen it, it's a horror movie, of course. You can guess by the title. Definitely recommend. Finally got around to watching the first Megan film, Abigail. There's a bunch of others. I could go on and on and on, but essentially I finally managed to catch up with my film watchings for just not having time, but forcing myself to make that time every day and making use of it. So I'm helping get myself healthier, and I'm really feeling the difference, but I'm also making sure that I'm allowed to... Okay. Where was I? I had to quickly get up and get the camera, start recording again. It stopped. But yeah, it's been really good because it's been good for my physical health, as well as I may catch up on something that I usually really enjoy but didn't have the time for. Before we go, let's take a look at the answer of the day from a previous video. Okay, this one came from Revenge's Ice Cream 44, and it was, are you old enough to remember guys going around the door selling things? And today's answer comes from Kerry Emberley Hempy. When I was little, milk was still delivered, but my family didn't get it because we couldn't afford it. Ice cream trucks still go to every neighbourhood I've lived in lately, so I'm not sure if those count. We do still get the ice cream trucks in my neighbourhood, and I think I mentioned in a recent video that I actually had a milkman at my door, which I was genuinely surprised with because I thought they'd gone the way of the dinosaurs, because dinosaurs loved milk, I guess. And with that, I'm going to head off for now before this battery runs out. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves. And with that, I'm going to head off for now before this battery runs out. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves. Bye bye.